All right, Habibi. I've had a lovely day actually.
Oh,
Very
yay.
relaxing day. But there was every once in a while I see a patient and then I remember, you know what? I need to give a PSA. It's a public service announcement, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got an acronym right. And the last one I remember was the ball sack. You should feel your balls.
Yeah.
Right. You should know how everything down there is supposed to. Yeah. You get a tactile.
Whether the lumps are
sensation.
normal or not. Yes.
Exactly right. That's number one. And then Hugo serenaded us with a beautiful story about him not realizing what's there supposed to be there. Anyways, so this is a guy who comes in, a fairly large man, who's been taking a lot of flights recently because of his work. And he comes in and he's just like a little bit out of breath, but nothing too crazy. And we end up, because of the clinical presentation, we end up sending him for imaging for a CT, computer tomography, which is a kind of X-ray. Where you create many sheets and then you can kind of get like a 3D image of the person. Very interesting.
Is that the same thing as a CAT scan? I feel like people use the two.
Yeah,
the two
basically.
interchangeably.
Yeah, exactly right. To my knowledge, at the very least, I think a CAT scan, and when they say CAT scan in the US, they mean also a CT scan.
Okay.
But that's only a purely an American term.
Okay.
Regardless, the super fancy 3D modeling thing where they show up as an actual 3D model, that's only some machines, right? We have the regular machines where you just kind of get like the sections that you can scroll through. Regardless. This guy had a tremendous amount of lung emboli, which is basically lots of clots in his lungs, which can be very dangerous because if you have a very, very large one, then you can just fall dead where you are. Yes. And then this reminded me to give a gentle PSA, which is if you're ever on a long flight anywhere or a long car ride or something like that, like this, be sure to frequently move your legs. Get up and walk around on the plane a little bit. Stop every hour if you're in a long car ride, and then walk around a little bit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then get back in the car and keep driving. Do these little exercise while you're in the car where you kind of raise your feet up on your heels and then on your toes and then on your heels again, so on and so forth, to keep blood circulated, because what can happen is that you can get a clot in your venous circulation in your calf, basically, and then this can shoot up into your lungs. And a lot of people just either don't get anything or maybe just slightly become out of breath. But if it's sufficiently large, then they can get a massive embolus, a massive clot, and then they can just drop dead.
I am now standing at my desk. I have stood up. I'm not sitting down again all day.
So yeah, and there's a bunch of other stuff. If you're really interested, this score that we use called Wells score, WELLS, and there's a few things on it. If you have an active cancer, if you've been operated, so surgically recently, if you've been immobilized in some sort of way, for example, you've been bedridden for days at a time without any movement, or like I mentioned, long flights or car rides or whatnot. These are things that kind of increase the likelihood of you developing either a deep venous thrombosis, the clot in the leg, or a lung embolus, which is a clot in the lungs.
So how does that work? How does a clot in the lungs work? Is it like on the tissue? I don't know how lungs work.
Okay, think about this. Your lung is just a huge amount of air sacs, right? And between these air sacs, there's your vasculature. There's vessels that run, right? And between the air sac and the vessel, there's a little space where gas transfer occurs. Okay. So basically, your blood gets oxygenated through this very thin layer that's overlaying over each other of a vessel and an air sac. That's very simplified.
Okay.
It's a little bit more complicated, obviously, but just to keep it simple. If you get a clot in the lung, what happens is that this clot will block a circulation to a particular area of these lung sacs, right? If that happens, then this can also cause an infarction. This can cause basically death of the local tissue. And as a result of that, can cause subsequent issues. This is not the quote-unquote bad part. This will only usually cause you to be short of breath. What's bad is if you get it in one of the larger vessels of the lungs. What can happen is that you can basically cut off this gas diffusion, gas transfer entirely from one lung or one entire lobe of a lung. And because of this, you'll experience a very quick and sudden deterioration in your conditioning.
Jeez.
Right? You'll all of a sudden feel like, oh yeah, before you see these patients very regularly in the emergency ward, like an old lady that'll be like, oh yeah, I go on walks every day and I walk like 10 kilometers and I have no issue. But now I can barely walk 50 meters without being completely out of breath. Like I ran a marathon, I'm super out of breath. This is a very typical, almost like a stereotypical presentation of a lung embolus. But the super massive ones basically can block off the very root of this vasculature, of the circulation, and as a result, you have zero gas transfer, you have zero oxygenation of your blood happening, and then you just drop dead.
Jeez.
Yeah, and of course, it affects your heart through more complicated.
How do doctors even function knowing all the ways that your own body can betray you any given day?
Well, no.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, but like there's you have the two kinds. You have the doctor at one side was like, yeah, everything's getting fine. And then you have the hyper, like, oh yeah, we're gonna need to check everything out. I've been with what's it called? I've experienced this with the people I went to uni with, and of course at work, and I have my moments as well. But I'm a lot more towards the it'll be fine kind of side. I think I mentioned to you, I had for a period of med school where I think for like eight straight months I had chest pain. I didn't do anything about it.
That's probably nothing.
But, yeah, it was musculoskeletal. It was nothing in the end. But still, very stupid of me to just be like, yeah, I'm going to get it checked out. But
just think, you could have died and never had this podcast with your boys.
Oh my God. Oh, that is genuinely a big shame.
The loss of a lifetime.
How are you doing? Do you have anything going on in life? How's the Volvo?
Oh my God. We're just waiting for plates, and that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, it's done?
It's done.
Yeah, genuinely, it's done.
Yeah, I don't have it. I asked the guys, like, can I come get it while we wait for plates? He's like, have you got it registered? I'm like, no, but I've got the title. Just give me one of those transfer papers so I can get it to my house, and I will wait for the plates there.
This dude is getting head in the back seat on the daily. I bet you. This guy's cruising down the street.
I can almost taste it. It's oh my God. But yeah, it should be, plates should be here in, a week or two, and that'll be that. It's done. I can't believe it.
I really hope you get, what's the thing, the like Southern California Mexicans or Hispanic people, they get the bouncy wheels.
Oh, you make make it a lowrider, put it on bags.
Oh my God, the Volvo with that. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh Jesus Christ. Yeah, that would be hilarious.
The air suspension stuff is cool. People just drive it to your car show and then just slam it, just rest it on the ground. So,
oh my God. I love it.
That's cool.
That I can't imagine with Evie in the back. No.
I've seen some people who will get like a skid plate at the back of their car and then put the car on the airbags so that while they're driving they can lower the rear of the car till the skid plate is touching the ground, and so it'll just send sparks up behind them while they're driving.
My God,
it's so extra.
God, Yanni. Yeah. But okay, maybe this is racist of me to say. If this was like what white Americans would do, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? But just because it's Hispanics, in the US,
so
I'm
much cooler.
Yeah, right.
So much cooler.
I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
There's a story today also that's going to be kind of funny.
Oh boy.
It's supposed to be a palate cleanser that we have, but we'll see if people enjoy it as much as I do. Hold on, in Texas, this is actually a good question, I would like to think.
Yeah.
Because California has a massive Latino population, right? Texas used to be part of Mexico. You still have a massive amount of Latinos, right?
Yeah, it fluctuates. But now, as of I think last year, the white people are a minority in Texas.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Oh my God. Prayers are answered.
We are oppressed. No one has been oppressed as much as we are.
Oh my God. But hold on, I always thought, because again, maybe I'm really emphasizing the used to be part of Mexico, but they've always been there, right? It's not like they were forced out and then they came back as a trickle.
No, not really. I mean, it depends on where you are in Texas. Like there are definitely some white enclaves, and then there's some very Indian areas of Texas too, and then one or two very German areas. But yeah, the closer you are to the border, like El Paso, is very very much a white minority and Mexican majority.
I see.
Always the best goddamn food. Oh my God, the Mexican food is so good.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember, this reminds me of something else. I saw a video. It was supposed to be a meme video, but it was a person at McDonald's in the US, and it was the the self-ordering thing, right, machine.
Yeah.
And then the guy taps it and it says English and then Spanish next to it, like the language selection thing.
Yeah,
that's cool. I didn't think Americans are accepting,
are based like that. Yeah, in some ways, yeah. If you're on hold if you call a pharmacy or something, they'll say for English press 1, for Spanish press 2, and stuff like that.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Is this countrywide or is this only in the South?
I don't know, actually. I've spent most of my time here in Texas now. I don't remember what it was like in the Northeast, for example. I bet they have, whatever the second...
In the dark times before the self-checkout.
Literally, the dark times. Oh, God, I hated Connecticut so much. Sorry, any Connecticutians? I don't know what you are.
Oh, my God.
In the chat.
Is it the snow? Is it the darkness?
It's both, I hate the cold, and then it gets, when I was in high school in Connecticut, and so in the winter... Yeah, look it up. But in the winter, I would get on the bus, and it would be dark for school, and then I would get on the bus home, and it would be dark coming home. It was like all of my hours of daylight, we were trapped in school. So like for, I don't know 5 months of the year, I was awful.
Doesn't this look like a Silent Hill map? Hold on.
I swear. Yeah.
This is a Silent Hill map. When you open the Silent Hill 1 map, this is exactly what it looks like. For the listeners, I brought up a map of the state of Connecticut. For some reason, there's a town or something called Canaan at the top left. Why? I don't know. It's
Canaan.
Like
That's how we say it.
It's like the East Palestine.
Exactly.
Thing. I'm like, well, yeah. There's a Beirut in like Texas or something, and there's a Paris, Texas.
We have Paris, Texas. We have Rome, Texas. Yeah, we got them all.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, and there's New Britain and Bristol. How lovely. But something that's also like weird and irritating for me is that whenever you write like Arizona map, Connecticut map, whatever, it will bring up a map just of a zoomed-in map of the state, or a cutout area where they remove all the rest of the United States. So I have no fucking idea what part of the country this is in. This is north.
It's northeast.
Way north. Is this one of the original colonies?
Yeah. They're all cursed. Like you go there and you're like, okay, this place is haunted. I swear. Yeah. You could not pay me to live in the Northeast again.
How accurate is this map? How about this?
Let's see.
It's on Reddit, so please forgive me.
Yeah. Let me click on this Reddit link. Oh, God. Oh, yes, the Connecticut stereotypes map.
Okay. It says, all right, in the eastern part of Connecticut, they're rednecks. Is this true? Does this mesh with your experience?
Yeah, and a generalization, yeah. And then the preppy upper middle class. Yeah.
In the south, all right. Tobacco and suburbs is in the north.
That's funny.
Okay. Why is preppy upper middle class in the south, but rich New York weekend homes and hippies in the top left?
I don't know. If I had to guess, looking at this map, it would be something to do with gerrymandering, but I couldn't tell you.
See. Why is there rich people and poor rich people?
Rich people and poor.
In the southwest,
so
Connecticut.
It's like the British people, where you can tell a real aristocrat in England from like they wear shitty clothes with holes in them, and their Land Rover is covered in dog hair and stuff like that, versus the ones who dress all fancy like they are posers. Same kind of idea.
I see. And there's an orange, my colorblind ass, pink, excuse me.
I keep forgetting.
A pink area in the very center that says wannabe Fairfield County. What is Fairfield County?
Fairfield. I think that's where I lived, actually. Fairfield County. Let me check. Hold on. Fairfield.
JT Bourgeois confirmed.
Oh yeah, this is when my daddy worked for Pfizer in New York, Connecticut. Hey, Lamau, I was right.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And was it a nice place or was it bad? You speak very negatively of it. So
I hate Connecticut. I hate it more than any place on earth. But it was nice. Like, it was fancy, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I hate the whole winter vibe, the whole everything is trees vibe, the colonial vibe, that that flavor of Americana. I hate it to the core of my being.
Yeah. Have you, I think it's so cute how, like, we overlap on so many things, because I can imagine myself absolutely hating it, but the sheer vast difference in I mean, of course, we're on opposite sides of the earth, no wonder, but just the things you mentioned, like, this is another thing, like, sometimes, like, oh, it's a quaint colonial house. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is that a positive term?
I'm going to find a corpse in the attic. Yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, and they have, like, because these old homes, these quote-unquote colonial homes, will have like a separate staircase away from where everybody would gather, because that's the ones that the fucking slaves and the help would have to use. I'm like, who wants this?
Heritage, not hate, baby. Heritage, not hate.
There we go. And the final thing, by the way, is in the little legend that this person has next to the Connecticut map. There's a big orange bit which says wherever your landscaper lives, and then black spots would just say Detroit. I thought Detroit was in Michigan, or is this joking that these places are as bad as Detroit?
That's probably what it is. Like any like rundown former industrial hubs would be my guess. I don't know what those are.
We need to make this the, what's it called, thumbnail, so people know what the fuck we're talking about.
Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Deprogram. We figured it's been a while since we've done a Send News. We stopped doing them for a while because we were doing the news on First Thought, but since that was awful and miserable and took way too much time and didn't make us any money, we decided to stop those.
It's not about, okay, this is the thing. It's not about that it didn't make us any money. It's that not only did it cost us, but also the sheer amount of time invested.
For like 5 people to watch it and say, this is my favorite thing that's ever existed. And we're like, I'm glad. Can you share it with your friends, please? But
oh my god.
So we're doing news today. Let's see what our wonderful, not at all cursed timeline has in store for us today. Our first story of the day: French moderates BTFO. In his first public remarks after getting absolutely bodied in the recent EU elections, Macron called on, quote, men and women of goodwill who are able to say no to extremes to join together to build a joint project. Okay. Say no to both extremes. This guy's literally only challenged by the far right. The left is completely powerless, and so
they have to punch.
Oh god, I hate that so much. It's like they're both evil. Like these literal fascists who are clamoring for blood, and these lefties who would like to do something moderately decent.
If there was an actual left in France, an actually radical left, Macron would waste no time creating a coalition with Le Pen or whatever else party he would need to.
Speaking of Le Pen, it was Marine Le Pen's fascist party, the National Rally, that won more than twice the votes of Macron's Milquetoast Renaissance Party. Like, this was a pretty searing indictment of his leadership.
But hold on, JT, please. There are no cults of personality under capitalism or in liberal democracies. What do you mean the party's name is her fucking name? And by the way, her dad was the last guy who let it. What are you talking about? This is not a cult of personality.
No. That's a completely normal place, France. But anyway, basically everyone is fed up with the do-nothing liberals, so the conservatives are siding with the fascists, no surprise, and all the properly left-wing parties are joining forces with each other. They have a history of squabbling, no surprise there. It's the left. But since they're
French, ew.
And they're French. But since they've joined forces with each other, and then a lot of the moderates and the conservatives and fascists have joined forces, that leaves Macron with very few moderates left to his name. But he has called on, quote, the centrist, progressive, democratic, and Republican bloc. Like, come on, man. Like, you just trying to...
the Reddit bloc.
Exactly, yeah. He's called on these losers to unite and counter these new alliances and has stressed that he will not resign regardless of the election results, stating that the Constitution supports his position as president. So there you go.
The centrist and the enlightened centrist Reddit bloc will unite to preemptively nuclearly strike Russia to maintain peace
with 0% support. Yeah,
exactly right. the most unpopular emotion in history of France, but no. That's are you surprised that the entire existence of the quote unquote liberals, the center-right existence of France was, it's not Le Pen. That's the entire. That's how they wrote into the election last time.
Same with Biden. It's not Trump. Like that's all the same. Like they fundraise off this stuff. Like they pick the worst guy. Like, he's a good thing I can scaremonger with. They make a bunch of money. They get the presidency or the prime ministership or whatever, and then they do nothing or continue the policies of the person they fundraised on. So that's France for you. That's the United States for you. Hooray for liberalism.
Right now it's dementia. That's what's called in vogue for world leadership, especially of the quote unquote enlightened Western democracies. What will be next? Do you think like psoriasis? What is it?
Psoriasis. Mild to severe plaque psoriasis.
Oh my god! It's just gonna be people with fucking bloody gums or some shit. Not that psoriasis causes that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It would be better than what the fuck that they have.
Absolutely.
But they can draw a clock, okay?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Biden can't. That's why they didn't release the clock.
Okay. Even if you could, you don't think you'd be able to draw a clock if you were pumped with 13 grams of fucking amphetamines? You'd be wired out of your mind. The guy's on speed. Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. We're moving from one group of cringeoids in a circle to another. This is the upcoming G7 meeting that's happening in Italy. And the title of this lovely Al Jazeera article is Russia, China, Ukraine, and Africa. What's on the G7 agenda in Italy? I hate this. Like, I get it. I get what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
But leading advanced economies have thorny issues to tackle. This is not fucking quirky. This is oh my god, this is colonialism by extension. But anyways. Yeah. So, by the way, I love it's like Russia, China, Ukraine, country, Africa. Like just a billion people and 50 something countries. Yes, okay. For those who are unaware, the G7 is a group of basically economically influential quote unquote countries. This is some nonsense that began in the 70s, consisting of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK. And the US, the European Union is kind of like a representative in it as well. And they thought that, because we represent such a huge share of global GDP, then they can basically call shots. They don't have a particular executive arm per se, but they can kind of align certain policies together to force what they want. And this is this is no different right now. By the way, they're I like the little write up here. They say the heads of state of what is often branded as a like-minded, exclusive, and Western-oriented club are going to discuss the thorny challenges in the picturesque region of Apulia. Very nice. Anyways, so they have two things that they're really going to be talking about now. The number one thing, which by the way I think is so stupid. They're gonna have a Middle East session where they're gonna talk about what's going on in Gaza and whatnot, and then afterwards they're gonna have a quaint little lunch break. They're gonna go to an old timey castle and have a little meal time. What's it called? What does Evie get at the kindergarten? Right? Between
goldfish?
Snack time. Snack time. They're going to have snack time. Where are they going to be eating the cheesy goldfish? All right? And then afterwards, by the way, I hate those fucking things that just get between your teeth.
No, they're delicious. Flavor blasted goldfish? Have you had the flavor blasted goldfish? Come on.
I don't know what the flavor blasted are. What flavor are we talking about?
They have a bunch of different kinds of flavor blasted. But my go-to is just the classic cheddar flavor blasted. You can get pizza, I think. I'm going to bring you one of those like Costco-sized boxes of flavor blasted goldfish in my carry-on or my luggage.
My God. It says cheddar, but it's like half asbestos.
It's cheddar in quotes. Yeah.
They're the ones that come in like the plastic see-through buckets, right?
No,
I've seen pictures online.
Those are like cheese puffs. Okay. Goldfish they come in a modest cardboard box or like those crinkly like
goldfish
bags that chips come in.
Is it a confectionery? What the fuck would you call it?
Goldfish? A cracker. It's a cracker.
Cracker Barrel. No, Cracker Barrel is a thing.
Cracker Barrel's a restaurant for white people.
Okay. Wait, they had the LGBT thing recently. People like Cracker Barrel has fallen because they were like, oh, I love it.
So stupid.
Oh. Well, apparently you can make them at home. Very cute.
Goldfish?
Yeah, there's what's it called? SmithenKitchen.com.
Oh.
Whole wheat goldfish crackers.
No. All right, well. Blasphemy.
Oh, they don't look that bad, but all right. Well, good. My kid doesn't like cheese. Okay, that's it. JT has immediately decided he's going to be sent to the re-education camp. Yeah. All right, sorry. We got really way off track.
Back to G7. Yeah. After lunch, after the snack break, what are they doing?
Exactly. They're going to discuss what's going on with Ukraine, of course. Our favorite Zelensky is going to come by and be like, Biden, I need more. I need 5,000 missiles to bomb Donetsk children.
Wearing his Captain Ukraine outfit. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. So he's gonna come. He's gonna have some shitty Marvel movie quip. And then
he's got to be getting pretty jaded though. Like they dropped him so hard with after October 7th. But I mean, it's also his only lifeline. So
yeah. I mean, he's trying to balance between, getting aid and not being assassinated by the Nazis in his cabinet. So, I mean,
he's in a tough spot.
Fuck him. Anyway.
What's a poor comedian to do?
Yeah, exactly right. It's like you decided to put yourself in this stupid position, but all right, whatever. I mean, by going up to be elected, it would have been some other guy. Instead of him, it would have been another Ukrainian, oligarch like Poroshenko.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for, but he's like, you know what? I started in a TV series about leading this country. So, anyways, moving on. The next issue that they're planning on discussing is the massive issue of migration in Europe. There's a big hot button issue right now because of, like, there's a balancing act. There's many far right parties that don't like immigrants simply because they're not white. That's literally the only. It's just racism. All the talk of but there's crime and there's this and that. Like the extensive amount of research that's been done into this, it's either like over-reporting and over-policing of certain communities. So basically the same shit that happens with African American communities in the United States. Or just simply like racialized or racist policies that follow a certain sentiment, plus mixture of a good chunk of people coming from certain areas of the world or certain locations within certain countries that are less educated, particularly if we're talking about refugees. Regardless, they're trying to balance the anti-immigration sentiment with the massive requirement of new labor that European economies need, right? Germany, which is the largest economy of Europe, and it's the fucking engine of Europe, all that nonsense, which, by the way, shrinking economy because of all the bullshit that's been happening with the hyper expensive energy prices after the sanctions and whatnot with Russia. Germany requires something to the tune of hundreds of thousands of migrants each year just to maintain the size of its current economy, let alone to productively grow it. And this is the same case for many countries across Western Europe because they face a second problem, which is their demographic crisis. Their aging populations who do not have sufficient amounts of children to meet replacement and also to continuously feed economic development. This is the issue with capitalist economies. You have to have the stupid logic of infinite growth for infinite growth's sake, right? For just profit for profit's sake. Otherwise, you stagnate and then crisis and then social disruption and whatnot. Regardless, they're going to try to play this delicate balance. And Italy, of all countries, has come up with a particular issue, which is the Mattei plan, I believe it's called, which is a 5 billion euro-ish sort of plan that Italy and then the subsequent other partners in the EU are trying to implement, which basically is like infrastructure and energy and education investment in different parts of Africa. But it's not that makes it sound way better than it actually is. Generally, what they're trying to do is they've put basically the investment arm in the hands of a energy corporation within Italy, right? And what they're trying to do is basically streamline all these different energy producing sectors, from renewables in Morocco to oil production in different African countries, and to kind of feed it all through Italy, and then from Italy to let it go to the rest of Europe, right? So it's a
nice little scheme.
But it's better than what they did to Libya.
Yeah, that's true.
At least they're going to be training a few people in this case. But anyways, we'll see if anything comes of it. But this is a very big, in Italy, it's touted as a huge thing. So we'll see if anything's going to come of this. The last thing that will be on the agenda will be China. Oh my gosh,
of course, yeah.
China is disrupting global economics. Our Western allies, we need to control or limit China's, and this is what they call it, industrial overcapacity, which is a very funny sleight of term, because what this basically means is, by the way, this is what the quote unquote definition: when firms produce more than the demand, driving down prices. I don't know if you understand this, whoever wrote this garbage. Actually, I know who it was. It was Yellen, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, the ancient lady. But that's just called producing at scale. That's called shit being cheaper. The larger your factories are and the larger your production capacity is. That's not bad economics. That's good economics. The fact that they can mobilize their population to set up these factories and have such large amounts of productive capacity for all these things is a testament to how well their economic system functions. But no, Yellen went to to China and said, "Oh no, market-based reforms will be the thing that helps you." China's been growing at like 5% at least for the past couple of years, and even higher before. The US's growth percentage is like something like 2% if we're good, on a good day, basically. Why would the United States have anything? Why would China ever listen to the US? They're not the ones who are in a good position on this. But anyways, they basically went to China, of course. Yellen went to China to state these things, but also during the G7 summit, they're going to be discussing this point that Chinese state subsidies for both sometimes private as well as state-owned industry results in, and I quote, production capacity that significantly exceeds China's domestic demand, as well as what the global market can bear, which basically means you're out-competing us on the global market and we're losing out on profit. So capitalism is fun, nice and dandy when it suits them, but the second it doesn't work out for them, then all of a sudden, oh no, you're doing something.
You're cheating. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny because Japan and South Korea both used not the same. China's a different league of its own, but Japan and South Korea used very similar state-directed subsidies and state investment and economic planning to develop their massive industrial capacity at the beginning, before handing much over to the private sector, which eventually resulted in their subsequent stagnation. Less so with South Korea, more so with Japan. But also the fact that both these countries are U.S. vassals. So basically, when they got too big for their britches, the United States said, "Yeah, enough of that. We're gonna have the the Plaza Accords for Japan, where like you're gonna subsidize the American dollar. That's what you're gonna do. You've reached the summit of what we're gonna allow you to grow economically.
Stop growing. Go back to making video games.
Yeah, exactly. We want you to make sandals, not computers, basically." And then Yellen went to China, like mentioned. She said, "Oh, market-based reforms are in China's interest," and the Chinese basically were like, "Ah, yeah, get the fuck out."
Just can you imagine the arrogance of that? Just some person from a country that is performing less well economically going over to lecture in their own country. That's just...
Yeah. And do you want to hear the last and most cringe sentence of this?
Please.
It is... This is the first G7 summit since the expansion of BRICS, a group whose leading members include China and Russia. Last year served as a pointer to the mounting disillusionment in the so-called Global South over the West policies. And then there's a quote from Tristan Naylor, a fellow in international relations at the London School of Economics. Nerd. Imagine how fucking... how dry of a conversation you can have with this dude. I feel bad for whatever partner he has. But anyways, the quote is, a diplomatic win for the Italian government is to have a G7 that clearly communicates that the club is united and unbreakable in the face of geopolitical threats from Russia and China. Why not just have win-win cooperation? The shit that the Chinese talk about. Why is it so hard to be like, you know what? We need to invest in renewable energy, which will be cheap and plentiful and also useful for all our economies if we actually take a global effort, right? Why are we slapping tariffs? Use something you're going to come to actually very soon on electric vehicles. Why? It's just
when you're so used to domination, like it's just anyone standing on equal footing to you is a threat. You feel oppressed. It's like the white replacement myth. The same thing, just on a state scale. It's pathetic.
Yeah. Anyways, no, it's just that's about it. So there's just going to be a bunch of people having their Jello in between, right? I'm thinking about the hospital Jello, or not the hospital Jello. Excuse me, the one that they get in the old people's homes in American media.
Oh yeah. The tapioca pudding.
Yeah, exactly. Are they gonna have their tapioca pudding? And then afterwards they're gonna talk about, oh, China's gonna be, anyways. So please take it away into
Speaking of China, the EU is getting in on the EV tariffs. The European Commission has announced that they will raise tariffs on Chinese EVs from 10 to 38% on July 4th unless Beijing agrees to stop beating their asses at literally everything. The short version of this is the EU is pissed that state-led development is so effective, and they're crying foul because they can't compete, like you were saying earlier. So again, what happened to the market is always right? If you're being outcompeted, find a way to compete, right? The complaining, the entitlement is just so funny, if not also incredibly obnoxious.
The browns, the yellows, and the blacks should be making sandals, all right, and allowing us to come in and use them for cheap labor and to have cheap access to their raw materials. That's it.
And to sell the stuff back to them. Yeah, pathetic.
Exactly right. And in between that, sex-best activities.
God, yeah. Oh my God.
Stuff that'll...
But this hissy fit that they're pitching now was sparked by Chinese EVs selling quite well in the EU. Hundreds of thousands of them have been imported in the last year. And then that's mainly because the tariffs there have, until now, what they're threatening now, have been lower than in places like the U.S. and India. The U.S. is something like 100% tariff on Chinese cars, and they're also making it just straight up illegal to import them because we have such bloated, over-expensive cars, like especially trucks. Look into the chicken tax if you haven't, dear listeners. We legally can't have
free market. Free market.
It's so pathetic. It's not. We can't have the little trucks that China builds for like $7,000, $10,000, but we can't have them because that would undercut our massive, Ford F-350 or the Raptor market or whatever.
how am I gonna get to my office job? All right, on these beautifully paved roads. How am I gonna one time in the entire history of the car pretend to go off roading because I kind of went up on the curb a little bit and touched the grass?
There's no joke. There's a dude who parks here in this my office parking lot who has. What is it? Is it a Chevy? I don't know which version it is. It's the Tremor edition of whatever their big truck is, and it's huge. I park beside that thing, and it's like I'm dwarfed by it. If I park between two trucks, like there's no way anyone can. Like if a third truck comes and tries to park between the two, they won't see me. My car is just dwarfed by them. But anyway, look into the chicken tax. You'll go a little bit crazy if you're a car person. Anyway, the EU has literally said that China's government investment in green energy is unfair. They use the word unfair. Like, bruh, you could do that too. You could choose to invest in common sense development goals, right? Like China is doing. They have a long-term plan, but they're
investing in Israel, please.
Oh,
they have. They're investing in Israel.
That's not
Ukraine.
a long-term plan, partner. I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
they're squeezing all the value they can out of that, but it's just at some point you have to invest in longevity versus violence and maintenance of the status quo that just doesn't work for your people. But anyway, the Secretary General of the China Passenger Car Association said, quote, "The EU's provisional tariffs come basically within our expectations, which won't have much of an impact on the majority of Chinese firms."
Oh my God.
In other words, Lamau cope. So
based.
I have my quibbles with Chinese foreign policy and stuff, but the statements they put out in terms of like business stuff, they're always so... They managed to make it so respectful and so condescending at the same time. I love it.
A tried and true Chinese, pastime. Moving on from the funny to the slightly depressing. COI, the Commission of Inquiry, the UN-backed commission, has accused Israel of war crimes. Finally, alhamdulillah. This is the first superficial, basically, overview and evaluation of the evidence, right? And they've, as a result of it, basically used the terms as crimes against humanity and war crimes in this kind of terminology, which is pretty good, thankfully. Finally, it's only like almost a year too late. But yeah, regardless, this commission is going to present the proper report next week, and the particular terminology that they used were crimes against humanity, of extermination, murder, gender persecution targeting Palestinian men and boys, forcible transfer, torture, and inhumane and cruel treatment, which is very, very messed up to write in words, of course, but it's nice that it's finally being actually uttered. But of course, because it's a UN thing, and because it's basically owned by the United States, they have to do a two sides nonsense where they're like, oh yeah, also the Palestinian groups are accused of war crimes.
Losers.
Yeah, so they're doing this thing where it's like, members of the Israeli security forces were victims, it says. Verbatim.
Most of them were killed by Israel.
Yeah, but even so, they're not even mentioning civilians in this particular. They're saying members of the Israeli security forces. They specifically mean military. The Israeli this means military. Military were victims. No, this is already a military occupation. These people are, in any semblance or understanding, these people would be in a conflict zone and would then, at least in some form, constitute a valid target, regardless whether civilians are or not in a settler colonial country where everybody serves in the military. This is a question of nuance, I guess. But at least for the Israeli security forces, this is something that you need to this is bullshit.
It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear.
To have this written. Anyways, they're like, oh, we need a ceasefire now. We need to, the resistance groups need to lay down their arms and release all hostages. And of course, that's by the way, what they, they're like, oh, Israel must stop its military operations and attack, but the Palestinians must lay down their arms. Despite the fact that within the UN Charter it says that armed resistance to a military occupation is valid. So, legitimate. So, can you guess what the official Israeli response was to this?
Is it Lamau pound sand?
No, they're like, anti-Semitic. You guys are anti-Semitic. This is anti-Semitism. And they, by the way, they even mention, Israel has consistently accused international organizations, including the UN, of anti-Israel bias and anti-Semitism. With the claims...
The UN is Hamas.
Exactly. With the claims increasing during its war in Gaza, which basically means that before the war in Gaza, they were already saying that the UN is anti-Semitic, which is hilarious. But anyways, this is what I have as a little overview. It's nice that they're actually,
At the very least, like nothing will come of this legally. Like Netanyahu won't be held to account or any of them. But I guess at least normies will see this and say, oh, maybe Israel is doing a genocide. And, every little bit in that regard does help. So it's, something at least, I guess. All right, we'll continue in the grimmer side of the stories for today. The latest elections fail to quell Manipur ethnic conflict. India concluded its weeks-long general elections on June 4th, delivering Prime Minister Narendra Modi a record third term. Manipur locals hoped that the BJP losing its parliamentary majority would make things better. They have long held that the BJP is at least partly responsible for sparking the ethnic conflict in Manipur state. But after yet another recent ethnic clash, with at least one person being abducted and a town burned to the ground, Manipuris are losing what little hope they had. One member of the Christian Kuki-Zo minority said, "My people have suffered under the BJP rule, who we blame for instigating this violence. The results seemed like the entire state had rejected them. It made us believe that there would be a change in heart." And they no longer feel that way. The conflict is between the predominantly Hindu majority and the Kuki-Zo tribe. Clashes have claimed at least 220 lives and displaced some 67,000 more over the last year. And there are currently no signs that the conflict will be resolved through government action. This is just one of those things that it's very complicated. There are some of the tribes there have like a protected status where they're offered quotas and stuff in education, in employment, stuff like that. And now the majority, which makes up like 60% of the state, is also wanting that same protected status. And of course, the minorities are saying, well, there's a reason we have this protected status. Like, we are the minority here. And so they object to that. And then the majority burns their villages. And then there are reprisals for that. So it's very messy, as with most ethnic conflicts. And of course, the state of Manipur has shown very little resolve in wanting to quell this conflict. And also, India is just a big place. And so at the state level, it's fairly low on their radar, especially with Modi. So it remains to be seen what will happen, but it's not looking great so far.
Yeah, and that's one of the very sad developments of India politically. Which is the fact that the BJP is still a thing, and the fact that such a outright fascist party, essentially, particularly in its origins, is recognized on the world stage and treated as it's such a as
a respectable government.
Yeah, exactly right. When the Chinese, it took 30 years for the world to recognize them, despite the fact that they had the Chinese Communist Party, for example, when they ruled China, and so on and so forth. Regardless, let's move on to something far more inflammatory, which is Denmark says Korean instant noodles too spicy to eat safely. Whoa! They're talking about the Samyang instant noodles, the hot chicken flavor ramen. Basically, they have banned different kinds of this particular noodle because they're saying it's too spicy. Oh my gosh! Capsaicin levels so high they pose a risk to the consumer of developing acute poisoning.
Poisoning from spicy.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, wait, hold on, where was it? Chili in large quantities poses a risk to children and frail adults in particular. Who's giving this to 3-year-olds and fucking Biden? Who's doing this?
Grandma, right? Try this. You shit.
Oh my god. Yeah, honestly. Possible symptoms include burning and discomfort. I mean, that's basically Yugo's habitual existence.
Symptoms include nausea, having a fine, refined palate and culture.
Exactly. Nausea, vomiting, and high blood pressure. I don't think it's the noodles, my guy. Yeah. But okay. But anyways, so they're gonna ban it. They've taken it off the shelves. They recommended that people avoid purchasing them
and go back to the fermented fish or whatever they eat.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and people have been making fun of this online. But my favorite thing is this comment where it says Samyang Foods, whose headquarters is in Seoul, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Also, they specify that they've had registered double-digit annual growth in recent years, and the Samyang Foods accounts for the bulk of exports, which reached $270 million in the first 3 months of 2024. Wow. South Korea's ramen manufacturers' overseas sales hit a record $108 million in April.
In 1 month?
$108 million in April,
for the noodle people.
Up nearly 50% from the same period of the previous year.
Wow.
So good for the noodle people. I've seen this around, by the way. I've never tried it.
I gotta try it now. Yeah.
Yeah. This is if this is fantastic ads, by the way. They should have this plastered everywhere.
Banned
like
in
Denmark says, this shit is too fun. This shit fucking rocks. Oh my god,
that's amazing. Well, I know what I'm getting next time I go to the grocery store.
Exactly right.
All right, moving on from the noodles. Let's go back to misery and suffering. Lebanon's Hezbollah says they're prepared for war. After an Israeli airstrike killed a senior Hezbollah official late Tuesday, the group responded with a salvo of around 100 rockets on Wednesday morning, U.S. time, the largest attack since the beginning of this most recent phase of the Israeli genocide in Palestine. Both Israel and Hezbollah say they are prepared for war. Most of Israel's enemies in the region have been hesitant to get fully involved, as Israel is correctly seen as a rabid dog armed with nuclear weapons and the willingness to nuke themselves and everyone else. But Hezbollah stating a willingness to go to war is a big development if they're not bluffing. So far, we haven't seen any real escalation, understandably, but we'll see. Israel has been lashing out at multiple countries in the region, indiscriminately bombing civilian centers with complete disregard for international law. They correctly believe they are above international law and accountability, largely thanks to U.S. support, which has proven to be true. But this has prompted Hezbollah to try to challenge Israel's air power, escalating what has previously been confined to border skirmishes between the two countries. They shot down a couple of drones recently, been firing more rockets. But Israel shows no signs of stopping their genocidal campaign in Gaza, and we all know there will be no international consequences from the likes of the ICC or other legal bodies. The apartheid regime, frankly, we all know they're signing their own death warrant. All that remains to be seen is whether they'll drag the region into conventional or nuclear war and go out with a bang, or if the process will be a slower and more death by 1,000 cuts kind of one. We'll see.
Yeah. It's one of the nicest things that's happening right now with despite the fact that the entire situation is horrible, one of the nice things that's happening in the region is the fact that for the first time, really, at least in the past couple of decades, Israeli air superiority, or at least their safety in conducting air operations, has been seriously challenged. Yeah. Particularly because Hezbollah keeps targeting their Iron Dome batteries and missile defense systems with great success, destroying them. They keep shooting their drones out of the air. And also, Hezbollah has been teasing that they have significant anti-aircraft abilities that I don't believe they've used yet. But they do have it. And everything they've had before, when eventually, push comes to shove and they use it, it turns out what they say is true. So I'm not going to doubt them on this. But that would be very, very big news, because then that means basically that the only trump card that Israel has, which is air superiority, they don't conduct anything without air superiority, is at a loss. Israeli strategy has always been to bomb the ever-living shit out of civilian areas with airstrikes, and then afterwards basically just do clearing operations, which are very badly conducted because of the lack of professionalism in their army, as well as complete sheer disregard for civilian life, summary executions, children, women, it doesn't fucking matter, right? They don't care. And these people are shown to be the cowards that they are in Gaza because they don't leave their fucking armored carriers, they stay in them. This is the only military in the world that I've ever seen that doesn't have infantry walking along beside the armor.
They're so stupid,
right? Like logic, but no, it's because it's not incompetent. They're cowards. They know they're gonna get fucking popped. That's why. They know they're also just
dumb. Like they group together in little gaggles when they are outside the armor, and so they can get collated by a single sniper round, like that one video,
or
blown up by a single RPG.
There's been three of them where they've what's it called? Shot two people with one bullet, one shot, two kills, right? And unlike the Israelis, they're not. These are the Palestinians actually hit military targets,
exactly,
not fucking children.
And the little achievement pops up in their HUD.
Exactly. Mashallah. But anyways, moving on. Since we're talking about escalation in one part of the world, let's talk about escalation another bit. Of course, I think everybody's aware that there are Russian vessels that are on their way to Cuba. I believe they've arrived now. But basically, Russian vessels in the Atlantic on their way to Cuba were conducting missile drills. It is a naval frigate or frigate. I don't know. I've never learned the proper pronunciation. Is it frigate? Okay. God, English is so fucking stupid.
Sorry.
I swear. It's okay. And of course, they also have a nuclear-powered submarine where I believe the warship is named after Gorshkov, the admiral, the Soviet admiral, who was a Chad amongst Chads. If you want to read about a fucking life, read about Gorshkov. So yeah, it's a shame that his name is being attached to the modern Russian military, but what can you do, right?
Yeah.
Guy was significantly based. But beside this, they were carrying out these exercises on mock enemy targets with high precision missiles, and these missiles could also be like nuclear tipped and whatnot. It's a sort of quote unquote provocation, quote unquote, but it's not a provocation because this is a response to NATO exercises in the Baltic. And basically that area where B-52 bombers or other kinds of bombers were basically practicing striking with nuclear armaments, different areas of Russia, St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad and these kind of places. So this is a response to NATO escalation, as always. Not to say that the Russians are good with this, but they have shown a much more level head when it comes to the nuclear talk.
Yeah.
It seems like every second day they're like, oh yeah, no, we want French soldiers to die so we can trigger Article 5. We want right. We need to give long range ballistic missiles to Ukraine so that they can fire at it's just stupid
World War III. Yeah, they're hyped.
Yeah, exactly right. My God. But anyways, this was for those out of the loop. The Russian vessels going to Cuba was something that was planned even before, I believe, the war. This was something in the cards already. So this is not something that's specifically done to quote unquote antagonize the United States. By the way, as if the United States can antagonize, they have their nuclear ships basically they have them in Taiwan right next to China, and they have them in the Black Sea aimed at Russia, right? If anybody is antagonizing and creating, basically escalating the situation, it's the Americans. Regardless, the Admiral Gorshkov warship is armed with the Zircon hypersonic missiles. For those also out of the loop, Russia is with China slightly behind it. Russia has the most advanced rocket program currently in the world, particularly with hypersonic missiles. The level of hypersonic missiles that they've currently developed, apparently, I mean, it depends on who you read, but the common consensus is that these are completely invulnerable to anti-missile defense systems. They can't be shot down, essentially. Wow. So basically what this means is they guarantee that this missile will, it's always going to get through. It flies at 9 times the speed of sound. So wow. Fantastic. And the distance is over 1,000 kilometers. So ridiculous things. Imagine if all of this energy was instead invested in fucking, I don't know, developing basic healthcare shit, my guy. Do you know what I was thinking about the other day? Not the other day, today. I had a lady that came in and she gets recurrent urinary tract infections. An older lady with a particular background, which results in her getting these frequent urinary tract infections. But because she's old, this carries a risk of her getting developing sepsis eventually. So basically, what's it called? I think the English term is blood poisoning. But the infection would spread and then cause her organs to fail because of reasons. I'm not going to sit here and explain the pathophysiology. I don't have the energy. But one thing that we do frequently is we culture the bacteria from the urine to see what kind of bacteria it is, and then we do sensitivity testing for antibiotics to see which antibiotics we should use. We need to use empirical antibiotics to make sure that the reduce the likelihood of developing resistance, number one, and number two, so that the treatment actually works. Right. The difference is that these people need you need a certain amount of urine, and you need to actually culture it over a certain amount of time. I think the quickest culture systems take like 8 hours at the very least, right? To be able to grow enough bacteria to be able to do the sensitivity testing. I'm like, can't we figure out some fucking fluoroscopy bullshit or something to basically shine it through the urine and based on impedance, something to figure out exactly what bacteria by a particular margin exists within this, and then we can kind of extrapolate the sensitivity testing so we can make it go much quicker, so that we don't have to just have this back and forth where we use a broad spectrum antibiotic and then specifically go use empirical antibiotics. There's a solution here somewhere, right? And imagine if the fucking money that was developed, I'm not saying that, of course, like, we live in a multipolar world and different states have different interests and they need to protect themselves, but it's just this shit always it's a shame. It's a significant,
the stuff that benefits more lives always kind of falls by the wayside.
Exactly right. Anyways, sorry, I went on a huge tangent on fucking on urinary infections. Anyways, what I was saying is there was a very stupid in my particular dialect of Arabic, we say if somebody says a like snarky comment, we say the bochaya, or the bichaya if it's a man in particular, which basically means it's like to drop a word. That's literally, or to drop a phrase or a saying is the literal translation. But basically means you made a snarky, like passive aggressive comment. And the Americans had one where they said, this is about Russia showing that it's still capable of some level of global power projection. Which is so fucking, like, if somebody should be saying, not to be that guy, all right, but...
the U.S. is losing its grip everywhere. Yeah,
you can't scrounge up a bunch of fucking artillery shells to send to the Ukrainians. Please, all right. So this is what's going on here, and it's just a bit of this tit for tat fucking stepwise escalation ladder nonsense that's been happening between Russia and the United States, which is hopefully it doesn't get out of hand.
We shall see. All right, let's move on to everyone's favorite. If only Ugopnik were here. We're talking about advertising now. We've got a new Coca-Cola ad that has fallen flat, so to speak.
Oh my god! Yeah.
A recent Coca-Cola ad, first aired in Bangladesh, has sparked major backlash. The ad shows a young man declining a Coke from a shopkeeper because it's from, quote, that place. The place isn't mentioned, but it's clear he's referring to Israel here. The vendor then explains that Coke isn't evil. There's even a Coca-Cola factory in Palestine, at which point the customer happily buys a Coke.
Okay.
All right, first off...
I fucking hate capital. I fucking hate
it's evil. It's
advertisers.
Just so shitty.
They all need to be round up and shot. Oh my god, before the fascists, before everybody else, we need to have advertisers brought on their knees and shot. Oh my god. Okay,
Bring me the Johnson & Johnson team. Yeah. Anyway, first off, the factory that they're referring to is located in the occupied West Bank in a settlement considered illegal under international law, a fact that viewers, thankfully, were quick to point out. After the massive backlash, Coke quietly pulled the ad from their YouTube channel for a few hours before putting it back up with the comments disabled because they were getting just absolutely shit on. People in Bangladesh, from marketing experts to college students, near universally panned the ad. Coca-Cola is seen as a quintessentially American brand, and boycotters around the world feel that hurting their sales will send a message to Israel's staunchest ally, the United States. Coke has seen a 23% drop in sales in Bangladesh since October 7th, and is similarly hurting in many other countries around the world, especially in the Arab world. So that's that's positive. I don't know. Maybe the people on these advertising teams are just completely out of the loop. Like how would they be so unaware of how this would be received that they put out an advertisement this bad, this objectively false and insensitive, that they hurt their bottom line more than previously? I don't know. Maybe it's the thing with massive corporations. They're like, this will help, and it just goes through enough iterations where no one knows where it started and what the point of it was in the first place, and they just put out shit because it's a bloated behemoth. I don't know, but I'm glad to see that they're struggling a little bit, at least in Bangladesh.
Oh, I mean, they're struggling all over the world. They're seeing them and Starbucks, McDonald's, all these people are losing. It's a beautiful thing because all of it is garbage, right? McDonald's is fucking trash for you. Starbucks is just sugar. It's straight fucking diabetes. You don't need that in your life. What's it called? Coke rots your fucking teeth, right? You don't need this shit in your life. Drink some water. Have a fruit.
No.
Right? Taste. No. Oh my god. Taste the bounties of God's creation. What blasphemous fucking nugget. Have you seen a chicken nugget? Have you ever pulled apart a chicken nugget and looked at it?
It reminds me of that the ham obelisk story. Have you read that?
Oh my god. No, I'm not aware of the ham obelisk. Please do tell.
Ham obelisk meme. This is an old one.
By the way, if you like chicken nuggets, make your own. You can have actual chicken in it. Fuck.
Yeah. Here it is. The ham obelisk.
Let me see.
Is that ham processed? If it's processed, I don't want it. Ma'am, that is an 11-pound whole slab of deli ham. It has no bones, fat, or connective tissue. It is an amalgamation of the meat of several pigs, emulsified, liquefied, strained, and ultimately inexorably joined in an unholy meat obelisk. God had no hand in the creation of this abhorrence. The fact that this ham monolith exists proves that God is either impotent to alter his universe or ignorant of the horrors taking place in his kingdom. The prism of...
It's neither or. Do you know what it is? It's that we're being saved for a day of reckoning. We won't be able to go back. That's what that is.
We will be weighed against the ham obelisk.
your good deeds will be weighed against the meat slab, and like, oh, well, I guess you're gonna go to the hot place. I don't know what to tell you. Stuff about
You go ahead with your next one.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I have one more thing. Since we touched on the Ukraine stuff going on recently, we may as well just mention one last little tidbit. I don't know if you people are aware of something called the Azov Battalion or Azov Brigade. It was a little bunch of lads, all right, a bunch of guys, a bunch of
just some
bros,
boys being dudes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. With a disturbing amount of Nazi memorabilia and tattoos and statements such as "We will lead the Aryan races against the Semitic-led Untermensch,"
Christ.
which is a direct quote.
Yeah.
I'll add these people.
You can't take them at their word. I mean,
yeah,
they don't mean it.
Yeah. What do you mean when they're captured and then they take the shirt off? They have a entire
An enormous
back
black
tattoo.
sun. Yeah.
A black sun. They have a fucking portrait of Hitler. My God, how much more explicit does it need to be?
Yeah.
Anyways, so basically, the U.S. has lifted the ban on sending weapons and training the Azov Brigade in Ukraine. If you're unaware, the Azov Brigade, which was like thoroughly decimated after the Mariupol stuff in 2022, they underwent kind of a facelift and a makeover, where they're now called what the fuck are they called now? The 12th Special Forces Brigade, which is an attempt to kind of like go past their go past the controversial history of them. Anyways, the United States says that they've conducted a thorough investigation. There's no evidence of human rights abuses conducted by the unit, and they're like, oh no, they're no Nazis. They've completely what was their terminology here? Hold on, they used
came
the word
to Jesus.
Here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Azov has been cleansing itself of undesirable elements.
Cleansing? You want to use the word cleansing?
I mean, for a fascist group that they're pretending is no longer fascist, they say Azov has been cleansing itself of undesirable elements.
Yeah.
Even the word choice betrays you. Or maybe this is a person who's just... Yeah, exactly right. But anyway, so that's what's happening right now. These people are receiving the benefits of your tax money.
Hooray. Thanks. Wonderful. Golly. Well, maybe I should evade my tax. I'm not gonna evade my taxes, dear listeners. I'm just saying. But speaking of evading taxes, and going back to speaking about Coke, let's talk about the Battle of the Felons. All right, we got Hunter Biden, right, the son of President Joe Biden. We all know he's a stand-up guy, real class act.
Which was on Coke.
Probably both, honestly. But Hunter Biden has officially been convicted of illegally buying a gun while under the influence of drugs, becoming the first child of a sitting president to be a convicted felon. Wait,
hold on, you can illegally buy a gun I thought it's what?
Yeah, so all right. There are ways to buy a gun that are legal. There are ways to buy a gun that are somewhat legal, like gun shows and stuff. And then there's like black market stuff, and also trying to buy one legally while lying on the application to buy it. And that was the case for Hunter Biden. He was under the influence of drugs, and you have to answer a question on the application. Like, are you a drug user? And he said no. Well, he very clearly is. But he had it for like, I don't know, 11 days or something before he got caught and busted with it and stuff. He had never used it, so it's a little bit like, he's, not that big of a deal. But anyway, we've got two ancient freaks. One who's a dollar store mobster and convicted felon, and the other who's a lifelong
Joe
racist.
Honestly, Joe Biden.
They could both apply to both of them. Lifelong racist and devoted war criminal. That could be Trump or Biden too. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sorry.
But they both have unfathomably shitty and coked out kids, and both universally are hated, except by the dumbest, most annoying people on earth. In my opinion, this is going to be the best election season ever. I cannot wait to watch these debates if they actually happen. There's some, back and forth as to whether they'll actually be allowed to go ahead. The Biden team will probably pull out last minute just because he can't. He's falling apart.
I don't think Biden is physically capable of pulling out or staying in. By the way, the Fall of Rome live stream that I'm seeing from the edges, I'm loving every minute of it. By the way, that's an insult to Rome to compare, but anyways, sorry, go on.
But the whole Hunter Biden trial was a soap opera shit show. He had 2 ex-girlfriends testify against him, one of whom was also married to Hunter's late brother, Beau, and they told the court how scared they were of him and how he would smoke crack in luxury hotel rooms. But he was
Biden.
Yeah.
Beau Biden? What the fuck is Beau?
Beau, it's French.
Joseph Robinette Beau Biden. No wonder he killed himself.
Oh,
or did he kill himself?
I don't know.
Sorry,
wasn't he in the military? I don't know.
He died of glioblastoma at the age of 46. Tosbik.
What is
Oh
that?
my god. Glioblastoma is very bad. What's it called? Brain tumor.
Oh, jeez.
Has a very, very, very poor prognosis. But he was a quote unquote Iraq war vet, so he deserved the glioblastoma. Like our old buddy, what's his name? The guy who got poked in the sticks in Vietnam with the sticks.
The guy who got poked with McCain?
Yeah,
the
exactly
guy who
right.
got poked with the sticks. Anyway, Hunter is unlikely to face legal repercussions as he never used the gun. He was a first-time offender and has so far only been guilty of non-violent drug offenses. Of course, if he were black or not the son of the president, he'd be thrown in jail for life. The only real outcome we'll see from this is a bunch of new material in Trump's repertoire for the upcoming debates. And again, oh God, I would pay so much money. I just want to hear them fight. I just want to hear
the upcoming stand-up routine, you mean? Yes, yeah. I can't wait. My favorite joke of Trump, by the way, I don't need to fucking say this, but I'm going to say it. We hate all of them equally. They're all fucking garbage. The fact that the American people have been subject to having to choose between
it's a shitty joke.
Yeah, it's a tragedy more than anything else.
Yeah.
That being said, though, my favorite joke of Trump to this day is the one where he's talking with that lady and interviewing him, and he's like, "Biden, I don't even know what did he say."
Nuclear weapons are the biggest problem we have, and we have a man that can't put 2 sentences together. We have a man that doesn't know he's alive.
That's the one.
My favorite one is the one I think he's at a rally or something. And
Biden can't even read the teleprompter. The other day, Matt, he's given a thing. He's a news conference because he hasn't had one in about 6 years or something. Can't have it. You can't have a news. So he picks he goes, Bill from NBC over here. So the guy asked him a very simple question, like about vanilla ice cream. But then they actually asked him a question about a border or something. So he goes, they ask him a question, Bill from NBC, they ask him a question. The border is very strong. It's very normal. And things are going very well on the border. Oh, thank you very much for the news conference. Thank you. And then he walks into a wall.
Like the comedic timing on it was perfect. I might put it in the edit. It's so good.
Please do. Is this one where it's, may Allah awaken the people and show them the evils of Israel? Oh my God. Very based. Anyways, I have one final lovely story, which is as such. Everybody's familiar with Johnson & Johnson.
Yes.
Johnson & Johnson has now been forced to pay $700 million to settle claims because it, quote-unquote, misled consumers, meaning it lied through its teeth because their talc powder that they use had asbestos in it.
Of course.
And it causes cancer, unsurprisingly. But they claimed for a long time that that it doesn't cause cancer.
Christ.
And the quote is, targeting communities with cosmetic products that contain dangerous substances is not just illegal, it's very cruel, says the Attorney General, New York Attorney General. No amount of money can undo the pain caused by Johnson & Johnson's talc-laced products. I just think that...
But we will force them to pay 0.02% of their...
of this month's profits. Yeah, exactly right. But anyways, they've repeatedly said, no, we're not, what's it called? It doesn't cause cancer and blah, blah. Now they're kind of basically settling following the lawsuits. But just so you know, this $700 million that they're paying is a drop in the bucket. And that's why they're willing to hurt people and continue doing, because the amount of sales they're going to get will dwarf this fucking settlement.
So they're coming out with a cheaper payday to pay a fine than to do the right thing.
And if you want to know the amount of, exposure that has occurred, actually, you know what? I did my research for you guys. I did some NCBI sleuthing. So I'm gonna let you know. This is from the article published in the Epidemiology journal titled Talc, Asbestos and Epidemiology, Corporate Influence and Scientific Incognizance. Mouthful of a statement. But anyways, I'm just going to read you a bit of the abstract. In the early 1970s, findings of asbestos in talc and findings of talc collocated, well, that's a new word, collocated in ovarian tumor tissue led to public controversy. For over 40 years, talc mining and manufacturing companies attempted to obfuscate the importance of these findings by keeping exposure information behind a corporate veil and otherwise influencing medical information concerning the health effects and asbestos content of talc used in cosmetics. But basically what they found in the most recent research is that not only does it accumulate in ovarian tissue in women, but women who use talc powder have found it also in breast tissue. Not only in breast tissue, but also because it's asbestos, there is detectable amounts of mesothelioma in autopsies done on women who have been exposed to this. So there is a significantly increased likelihood that they do actually develop, if not cause cancer directly, but then they increase the likelihood of it. And we have, 1,001 checks and balances for a reason to prevent this. But this is the kind of capitalist system that we exist in. Pay a fine and you'll be fine. Lamau.
Hey, nice. English again.
Yeah, exactly. I was not expecting that, but yeah. The Cosmetic Toiletry and Fragrance Association. All right, cool. Sorry, I just gave myself a little scroll and I saw that caught my eye. But anyways, that was the Send News of the day.
A lot of stuff going on. Some genocide, some World War III waiting in the wings, the Battle of the Felons coming up for the debates. Things are great, I think.
Oh my god, there's chaos under heaven, all is good, or whatever the fuck Mao said. Oh my god, yeah, no.
But at least we have Buc-ee's here in Texas. So
what the fuck is a Buc-ee's? I'm sorry.
Big gas station. Mascot's a beaver.
Okay. Do they do fast food as well?
Oh, they do everything, brother. They sell clothes. They sell beaver nuggets. They sell like sandwiches.
Buc-ee's.
Home decor.
Beaver nuggets. This sounds like something that I should not be Googling. I misspelled Buc-ee's horribly. Oh my god.
Buc-ee. That's stupid. They shouldn't be spelled like that. It's dumb.
Beaver nuggets. Sweet corn puff snacks. What? How are these nuggets?
When in doubt, just assume everything is corn in the United States.
Yeah. Dude, this looks like when you go to like quote unquote Oriental like Asian supermarkets.
Yeah.
And they'll have like the tofu in the bags. That's what that reminds me of. Okay, well, hold on. Somebody has the back nutritional facts. 12 servings per serving size is 2/3 of a cup with 140 calories and 0 fucking nutrition. It's just salt and fat.
Hell yeah, baby.
Oh, I love it. Brown sugar, cornmeal, corn syrup, vegetable oil, salt, margarine, soybean oil, palm kernel. Okay, we fucking get it.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Well, there you go, dear listener. Thank you for stopping by. We appreciate each and every one of you, especially our beautiful patrons without whom we could not do this show. We love you all dearly. Thank you for coming to our latest presentation of slop as you suckle gently from the trough that we have laid before you as we stroke your gentle pink ears. So thank you all. This has been the Deprogram. I'm JT.
And I'm Hakeem.
Go get you some baby nuggets.
Yeah, go have the fucking cancer nuggets. I meant to tell you.